The 2024 Paris Olympics might go down as one of the most controversial in history, from an opening ceremony featuring drag queens mocking the Last Supper and a transgender boxer's victory over a biological female which left the world stunned. These events have many questioning if the woke agenda is responsible for turning the Olympics into a disaster. Today's episode of Things I See on Twitter is dedicated entirely to the Olympics. As you guys know, the Olympics just recently ended and there were a bunch of controversies surrounding it. We're going to be starting off with the opening ceremony. Now, during this ceremony of the Paris Olympics, there was a group of drag queens and people of the LGBTQ community reenacting what many thought was the Last Supper while being dressed inappropriately. Now, one of the concerns people had is the fact that there would have been kids watching this. Now, I know when I was younger, it was something that we used to sit around as a family and watch all the events together. And I'm sure there's a lot of parents watching the Olympics with their children. Now, a lot of people thought this was problematic because many found this just inappropriate for kids to be watching this, especially when you have a bunch of men dressed as women, as well as the guy on the left standing right next to a child. He had his nuts out on display, and many people thought this was just a mockery of the Christian faith. This is probably one of the strangest opening ceremonies I've ever seen. What does this have to do with the Olympics? Most of the times the opening ceremonies usually celebrate the country's cultures, but what does this have to do with France and Paris? A bunch of drag queens, a bunch of men dressed as women. The Olympics is meant to signify hard work, dedication, discipline, competition. That's what the Olympics is supposed to be about. And what does men dressed as women and the LGBTQ community have to do with the Olympics? Maybe it's just me, but I'm honestly struggling to match the two. This has nothing to do with sports. So why the fuck are they sitting here doing shit like this? The fact that kids would have been watching this as well, that's just honestly uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine being 10, 11 years old watching this with my parents. Now, the director of this whole ceremony, Thomas Jolly, would eventually get questioned about this on live TV. He went on to say that this was actually meant to be a depiction of the famous Greek Feast of the Gods artwork. But I don't know how legitimate this is because he went on to say this after the whole controversy happened, after he got a bunch of backlash. So this might have been almost like a cover-up. And we have a quote here from Barbara Butch, the obese woman who depicted Jesus in the Paris Olympics opening ceremony. Says her aim is to unite people and to share love. They use this whole LGBTQ thing and they keep pushing it in our faces relentlessly, non-stop, at every occasion. And how do they justify this? By saying it's about inclusivity and to unite people and to share love. But this is very hypocritical, because if we think about this, in order to try to appeal to the LGBT community, they actually fail to include straight people. So they end up appealing to the LGBTQ community. They end up trying to include them. What about the straight people? We feel left out. We're not included. Do you see what I'm like? This is so hypocritical and contradictory. In order to appeal to one side, you have to not appeal to the other side as well. If you're just sitting here trying to appeal to one specific community and trying to make them feel really included, the other community is not going to feel included. We, as normal straight people who are not members of this LGBTQ community, we feel left out. We don't feel included. What about us? No one gives a shit about us. There's no month-long parades and marches happening for straight people. So this is what I don't understand. In order to appeal to the LGBTQ community, they're pushing everyone else away who isn't a part of this community. And they're not doing this for inclusiveness. Because if they were, being straight would also be celebrated. But it seems like it's not. The Olympics have just been centered around them. If someone's gay, I don't really give a shit. I think it's a little bit strange, to be fair. But if someone is gay and you cannot tell they're gay, they talk like a normal person, they act like a normal person, they dress like a normal person, you know what? I don't really give a fuck. Do your thing. Keep it far from me over there. But what I do have a problem is, and what many people like me have a problem is the fact that it's constantly being pushed down our fucking throats. We're being force-fed this. Everywhere you look, this shit is just popping up left, right, and center. When you're constantly just pushed the same message, the same thing in your face constantly, people are going to get sick of that shit, and we're getting sick of it, man. Because every chance they get, they push it in our fucking face relentlessly. And everyone's favorite Andrew Tate would also go on to protest outside the French embassy regarding this opening ceremony. I'm protesting outside of the French embassy for mocking Jesus during the Olympic ceremony.
You cannot allow them to desecrate something as important as the Last Supper with transsexuals and little children, pedophilia. There has to be a point you stand up to your beliefs. If you Christians don't start standing up for things, when they mock you publicly and openly, you'll have no religion left. If you don't say this is a Christian country and we respect Christianity, they won't respect it either.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. It's genuinely ridiculous. This has nothing to do with the Olympics. This is nonsense. Pushing that shit in our fucking faces. We don't want to see it. And speaking of the LGBT community, boxer Iman Khalif would go on to spark yet another massive controversy when she would go on to beat Italian boxer Angela Carini within 45 seconds and left her crying. Now, what's so controversial about one female boxer beating up another female boxer? Is that not what the sport is about? Yes, of course it is. But people would go on to do a little digging and they found out that Iman Khalif is a man pretending to be a woman. Can you believe this? This is 2024. We got men beating up women. Now, the International Boxing Association disqualified Iman Khalif from contesting at the 2023 World Championships, who previously failed a gender test after being found to have the male XY chromosomes. And the vice president of the World Boxing would also go on to confirm Iman Khalif is a male, saying the problem was not with the level of Khalif's testosterone, because that can be adjusted nowadays, but the result of the gender test, which clearly revealed that the Algerian boxer is biologically male. The European vice president of the World Boxing Organization and former secretary general of the International Boxing Association has also revealed that he warned the IOC about males participating in women's boxing in 2022, but was ignored. Now, after this, many people would come out in support of the Italian boxer, one being the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni met Angela Carini in Paris on Thursday and told the boxer to keep going in the sport. I know that you won't give up, Angela, and I know that one day you will get what you deserve through strength and sweat in a competition that is finally equal. But the Italian Prime Minister wasn't the only one that came out in support of the Italian boxer. Riley Gaines would go on to tweet, "Men don't belong in women's sports. I stand with Angela Carini. Let's get this trending," with Elon Musk responding to it by saying absolutely. We also had Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling tweeting in support. J.K. Rowling would go on to repost Riley Gaines' tweet about this, as well as saying a young female boxer has just had everything she worked for and trained for snatched away because you allowed a male to get in the ring with her. You're a disgrace. Your safeguarding is a joke. Paris 24 will forever be tarnished by the brutal injustice done to Carini. But if that wasn't enough, if we didn't already have the online Avengers teaming up, Donald Trump would go to put the nail in the coffin.
Remember this, they want to allow men to play in women's sports, okay? But I promise you I will defend American women like nobody has ever defended them before. And under the Trump administration, this lunacy will end on my first day back.
This delusion will get someone seriously hurt. This is completely different to a biological transgender male competing in women's swimming or women's basketball. You're talking about two people getting in the ring and beating the shit out of each other. This is not a fucking joke no more. How is this happening? Someone could seriously get fucking brain damage. There've been boxers that stepped in the ring and never stepped back out. There's been boxers who are fucking paralyzed for the rest of their lives from the sport. There's boxers that suffer permanent serious damage from the sport. And now you're letting a fucking man go in there and beat up a chick? This delusion is going to get someone seriously hurt. This is beyond ridiculous now. If the opening ceremony wasn't enough, now you got this. I don't give a fuck who says this guy's a chick. Look at the Donnie, bro. The Donnie looks like he looks like a man. This Donnie looks like a guy, bro. He looks like a fucking man. I don't give a fuck how much makeup you put on your face. I don't care how long you grow out your hair and paint your fucking nails. And bro, you're not a chick, bro. You play basketball, you play soccer, you play football, you don't play fighting, man. That shit, this is just too far now, man. This is too far. Pushing cocks in our faces, that's ridiculous enough. But then this, like, now you're talking physical violence, man. You're talking physical fucking violence. The Olympics has lost all credibility. This is really gonna get someone hurt. And I mean, if the other shit that we're doing wasn't far enough, this is like the final nail in the coffin. It has to be. And this guy has no shame. He's got no shame beating up on a chick and he's sitting there celebrating. The motherfucker's sitting there whoop-de-doo with his fucking hands in the air. Have some fucking shame, brother. What the fuck is this? And now Iman Khalif is suing Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling.
It's been reported that the 25-year-old has since filed a cyberbullying lawsuit in France, which names Trump, ex-CEO Elon Musk, and British author J.K. Rowling.
I can't describe how scared I was. I saw that big personalities like Donald Trump and Elon Musk had compared me to a man. I was extremely hurt and it affected me mentally. I couldn't understand all this bullying. I am a woman and I've always been a woman. and my honor comes before everything.
And now this Donnie's sitting here talking about I felt scared, and you know what? I'm gonna sue these cunts because they're cyberbullying. And now speaking the truth is cyberbullying. I'm not gonna support men bashing women. You're a cyberbully. You're sexist. You're misogynist. You're against the LGBT community. You felt scared. What about the woman that you were beating up? You felt scared. How do you think she felt when you punched her in the fucking face repeatedly? How do you think she felt scared? And he goes to double down on the fact that he's a woman. You failed a gender test, brother. You ain't lying to no one. And then they'll try and sit there and say you're discriminating. You know what's crazy? They're discriminating against us. We're being told to shut the fuck up. And you can't say nothing because it's cyberbullying and harassment. We're being discriminated against. Is that not crazy? Do people not see that? Because if you speak out against it, you get cancelled, you get hated on, you get fucking disliked, you get called a cyberbully, you get called a misogynist if you just simply don't agree with something. That's ridiculous. You got the Olympic opening ceremony being made all about them, and yet they feel the need to say they're being discriminated against. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the Dutch volleyball player Steven van der Velde. Steven is a Dutch volleyball player who is playing in the Olympics. Now, what might he have done for us to be talking about him today? Well, this man is a convicted child rapist playing in the Olympics. When Steven was 19 years old, he flew to the UK to meet up with a 12-year-old British girl while knowing her age and raped her. And he would later admit this years later in court, saying that he was guilty, and he was served a 4-year sentence to which he only served 13 months and got out. And this motherfucker has been allowed to play in the Olympics. Let's just set shit straight. You're telling me you can be 19, 20 years old, a 12-year-old girl. You flew all the way from your own country, the Netherlands, to the UK to have sex with a 12-year-old girl, admitted to this shit in court, and now years later you're being allowed to play in the Olympics? What the fuck has happened? And you know how the Netherlands Olympic Committee would go on to justify this? He served his sentence and completed an extensive rehabilitation program, and experts have concluded there's no risk of him reoffending. The volleyball player had shown that he had grown and positively changed his life. I don't give a fuck what you say. The fact that you done that at the age of fucking 20 to a 12-year-old, and now you're being allowed to play in the Olympics is just beyond comprehension. First of all, 13 months. What the fuck? How did he get let out? Who is making these choices here, man, in the Olympics? Does someone not think to be like, this motherfucker raped a 12-year-old girl? Maybe we shouldn't allow him to play. If that happened in the fucking NBA, if that happened in some soccer club, or if this happened to some UFC fighter, you think those motherfuckers would be allowed to play again? Oh, nah, but he's changed, man. He just went through a fucking rehab program, and plus, man, that shit was like fucking 10 years ago. And we know he's not gonna do it again, so, you know, let's just let the cunt back in. If this happened in any other major sporting organization, motherfucker would be booted, and not just booted, motherfucker would be in jail rotting. But somehow here, he's in the Olympics playing. The Olympics have lost their fucking mind. I need to know who's in charge. And to rub salt in the wound, the UK judge who sentenced him said this: your hopes of representing your country now lie as a shattered dream. Well, that was a fucking lie. I'm at a loss for words. I'm really at a loss for words. The bro's a pedophile rapist. Like, not only did you rape a 12-year-old girl, you fucking flew to a different country to do it. You fucking sat there, thought, I'm gonna meet up with this 12-year-old girl, booked a fucking flight to the country, went to the airport, sat on a fucking plane, and not once did it cross your mind in that whole journey, maybe I shouldn't do this. Then you landed in the UK, went to meet up with bro, this is a mad one. That's been it for today's episode of Things I See on Twitter. If you like this video and you want to watch some more, click on the videos on the screen right now and fuck off.